Mr. Speaker, it is my honor to close the sectoral debate for financial year 2020-2021. We can all agree that this year's debate was one that we have never seen any comparable to, given the developments we have had in light of COVID-19. The use of the word development is deliberate because despite the challenges that come with the pandemic, it has presented us with opportunities to move this country forward in ways we might not have considered before. The presence of this virus has highlighted areas where we are strong and areas which need improvement. Coincidentally, Mr. Speaker, this helps to shape the path to the new normal as we as a nation chart this new course to prosperity and build a new Jamaica. Mr. Speaker, presentations were scheduled to begin on May 19, but given some challenges, including the sad and untimely passing of our beloved member of this honorable House, Honorable Shahini Robinson, we had to postpone and we began on June 2. The period has not been an easy one, but we have managed to forge ahead and execute our duties on behalf of the people of our great nation. Our presentations this year from both sides did not see the usual turnout of support as previous years, with persons flooding the House from various portfolio entities, students, and constituents. Instead, this year, we truly realized the power of technology. While the support was not physically present in this space, we received it from every office, every home, every vehicle with a radio. On this note, I give special thanks to our media partners who have diligently broadcasted each presentation so that the people of Jamaica could join us from wherever they were. Mr. Speaker, I must also put on record commendations to you and the Deputy Speaker, the House Leader, the Leader of Opposition Business, the parliamentary staff, who has made this all possible. To the members of this House, I say job well done. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, we've had a change of Opposition Leader of Parliamentary Business, and we wish to offer our congratulations. And to say to the former leader, a job well done. I could not leave here today without, of course, thanking the Lord Almighty for providing us with the strength, guidance, knowledge, vigor to make it through this time. Mr. Speaker, as is the case every year, the debate covered a wide range of issues of national importance. I could not mention all of them here in the interest of time, but I will highlight a few. In respect to the critical area of national security, I would like to invite all of us in this House to take a moment to pay our respects to our fallen police officers and soldiers in the line of duty. We also congratulate our dedicated officers for operating and performing under challenging circumstances, and to say to them, on behalf of a grateful nation, a job well done. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable House was informed that the Jamaica Constabulary Force has plans to advance work in several key areas, including the build-out of their technology support systems. This robust use of technology will lead to the trust and confidence of members of the JCF and the public alike. The goal is to deliver effective services enabled by modern technologies and underpinned by the professional standards and values of policing. The states of public emergencies and the zones of special operations have brought on a sense of safety, well-being, security, and dignity to the people who live and work in the areas of operation. Not only has the reduction in violent and other crimes in these areas been an important measure of success, but also they have enabled people to sleep at nights and have freedom to walk about their communities, free of fear. Additionally, plans to implement a new traffic ticket management system this year was announced. The new system will improve on the existing arrangements, which has been noted as inefficient. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries was allocated $1 billion, which will support the farmers and fisherfolk in the recovery process from the coronavirus pandemic. Farmers will be provided with a number of essential items, including equipment and machinery and infrastructure such as greenhouses and fishing equipment. They will also be given refrigerated containers for storage for the use by fishermen and fisherwomen. For the fiscal year 2019-2020, the Consumer Affairs Commission secured some $27.8 million for aggrieved consumers, which resolved some 83.7% of the complaints received. The CAC was also integrally involved in the resolution of the bad gas issue. Additionally, members of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association are reaping success on the local and export markets since the COVID-19 outbreak in March. Reports state that some 20 Jamaican companies have been able to replace some imported products with locally made brands, for example, hand sanitizers. During the January to May 2020 period, the value of exports to the United States increased by $616 million to $5.1 billion, up from $4.5 billion in the same period in 2019. Mr. Speaker, the English proverb says, necessity is the mother of invention. But we Jamaicans know that when we are faced with challenges, we will take our hands and make fashion. Because we are an innovative people forging ahead towards Jamaica's prosperity. Under the drought mitigation program, some 136 farmers in 22 communities across the island received 275,000 gallons of chuck irrigation water, while the procurement of 500 water tanks is also in progress. And 2,000 quarter-acre drip irrigation kits are to be provided as well. The purchase of drones valued at $230 million will be among other equipment and machinery that will serve to enhance the modernization of the agricultural and fisheries sector and facilitate increased production and productivity. The march to food security, Mr. Speaker, is well underway. Mr. Speaker, this government recognizes the importance of developing and improving the country's justice facilities. And between January 2019 and March 2020, the Ministry of Justice extended $1 billion Jamaican dollars to renovate and retrofit justice facilities across the island. Never before, Mr. Speaker, this happened. Included in the upgrades were Victim Services Division offices completed in Trelawney and a Justice Center in St. Elizabeth. Victims of crimes, both adults and children, benefited from the assistance through the Victim Services Division in the financial year. And the victims included some 4,244 children, 533 adults, and developed a missing children risk assessment tool to assist parents in identifying various risks associated with missing children. Progress is also being made in the implementation of the National Child Diversion Program. And so far, 13 child diversion parish offices have been established. Core staff of the program appointed, and 13 child diversion parish committee selected. Additionally, non-governmental and community-based organizations have been engaged to bridge the gap between communities and the program. Mentors are being trained to bolster the work of the program, and a national education campaign for the sensitization of all stakeholders have been executed. Mr. Speaker, some $287 million was paid out in judgment and debts and settlements under the Attorney General's office for the 2019-2020 financial year. This has gone a long way a very long way, in alleviating the distress of those who have gotten judgments and those who have been wronged by the agents of the state. Mr. Speaker, in tourism, 13 public beaches across 7 parishes are to benefit from major improvements. Changing rooms, restrooms, perimeter fencing, parking, gazebos, bandstands, children playing areas, seating, lighting, walkways, electricity, water, sewage treatment facilities are among the amenities to be put in place. Small and medium enterprises will also be provided with funding to secure personal protective equipment in response to COVID-19. The Jamaica National Group Limited and the National Export-Import Bank combined have more than $500 million available to lend to these small businesses. The phased reopening of our borders have gone very well, Mr. Speaker. The world-class protocols developed by the Ministry of Health and Wellness and made compliant by the Tourism Product Development Company have satisfied entry protocols under JAM COVID. We have been able to devise and implement a strategy for the safety and security of members of the hotel industry, but one which allows for them to feed themselves and their families. In 2016, Jamaica was retaining 30 cents out of every dollar spent in the tourism industry. Today, it has now moved to 40.8 cents, a 36% increase, which is among the highest in the region. At the end of 2019, tourism was projected to create some 41,000 new jobs. However, with the impact of COVID, this will result in a change of that estimate. But the fact still remains that tourism is one of the most critical catalysts for job creation in the Jamaican economy. During the temporary suspension of the tourism industry, the Ministry of Tourism offered skill certification to key tourism players to ensure that when the industry opened, that our workforce would be fit for the task. Mr. Speaker, the stakeholders in the workforce participated in the workshops, and they have all been certified. Mr. Speaker, tourism workers and businesses have benefited from the COVID allocation of resources for employees care program. Additionally, the registration of tourism workers to receive a pension has been intensified. The Ministry of Finance and the Public Service will further be providing $1.2 billion in COVID-19 tourism grants to support smaller operators in the industry and related sectors, inclusive of hotels, attractions, transportation, and tours, which are registered with TPDCO. Mr. Speaker, in respect to the mining sector, which proved to be the biggest contributor to the country's economy during the COVID-19 pandemic, we understand that some 5,000 families are set to receive land titles for properties as a result of being relocated from bauxite lands. Additionally, some $826.8 million in royalties was collected by the Mines and Geology Division, which is payable to the government for all the country's minerals and quarrying materials sold or disposed of otherwise. Mr. Speaker, we started the mining school, which was a dream of the former Minister Mike Henry, and we have graduated the first cohort of graduates, and we are on training the second. Some 40 special exclusive prospecting licenses were processed, 33 of which were for a local company, Geophysics Jamaica Limited, to prospect for gold, silver, copper, and other base metals. As for the transportation sector, drafting instructions have been completed for amendments to the Transport Authority Act in support of the legislative framework for the sector. The amended act will allow for varying expiration dates using birthday or the month of incorporation, renewals, crafting and extension of routes. It is also allowed for the facilitation of market-driven approach for the granting of licenses, electronic monitoring and regulating, as well as provisions for the protection of employees and the facilities of the Transport Authority, public passenger vehicle operators and the commuting public from violence during the course of operation. A major investment was also made in, Mr. Speaker, I lift my hat to the JUTC management and staff for the initiative to have first responders ride free during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Additionally, workers continued to work during the entire period, providing much needed service to the people of Jamaica. In the same breath, Mr. Speaker, we salute all the workers and investors in the public passenger industry, because they too, like the JUTC staffers, worked right throughout the period. Furthermore, the Ministry will intensify discussions with the Office of Utilities Regulation to help with the determination of fares within the public transportation sector. Mr. Speaker, the Forestry Department, we were told, will embark on a reforestation of some 150 hectares of land and the maintenance of parcels comprising 588 hectares during the 2021 financial year. 109 hectares of denuded lands have been reforested across the island, surpassing the 100 hectares target. As the country slowly starts to reopen and regain some normalcy, a total of 3,300 employees in the business processing outsourcing sector have regained jobs lost due to the impact of COVID-19. Through the special economic zone regime, new investments in Jamaica were successful and are projected to exceed some $3.1 billion US. With the BPO being one of the fastest growing sectors, new technologies are being employed to expand the sector, including work-at-home stations, so that less persons will be concentrated in one building. And this, Mr. Speaker, opens up new possibilities for the BPO sector to be expanded in many rural constituencies. Mr. Speaker, many rural communities have benefited from the program to upgrade water mains across the island through the Rural Water Company. The government has spent some $800 million in supplying water to selected communities. There is also plans to further the water harvesting projects in selected communities and schools. Mr. Speaker, it was announced in this honorable House that the country has saved some $377 million in electricity costs, resulting from a reduction in energy consumption in several government entities. Additionally, the government plans to commence a $220 million house wiring project in select constituencies during this financial year. Work will get underway in constituencies for which members of Parliament have submitted projects to the ministry. And I would like to pause to urge all members of Parliament, including the gentleman from North Clarendon, to submit his projects. Good, excellent. Furthermore, citizens will soon be able to connect with the government and provide a voice under the pilot of the technology framework, My Government JM, which will be launched soon. Mr. Speaker, the importance of technology in a time like this cannot be overstated, and this government understands far too well the significance of bridging the digital divide. We want to educate and build out the capacity of our younger citizens, so the distribution of 25,000 tablets for teachers as well as 40,000 tablets for students will be made available on the tablets in infant and primary school and is set to begin in time for the new school year. Mr. Speaker, in the health and wellness portfolio, we must salute our healthcare workers and first responders for the stellar job they have done and continue to do during this challenging period. The Ministry of Health and Wellness have so far spent some $3.8 billion on efforts to contain the spread of the coronavirus. And just under $6 billion has to date been budgeted for the ministry for the response effort. Mr. Speaker, right across the region and the world, our minister and the managers in the portfolio has been commended. And we want to put on record the gratitude of this honorable House for the work that they are doing, despite the challenges you sometimes face. 89 million have been spent on infrastructural upgrades, including equipping hospitals with an additional 63 intensive care and high dependency units. More than 500 million has been spent to procure prescription drugs through the National Health Fund, ensuring the effective treatment of symptoms of the persons with COVID-19. Mr. Speaker, this is significant because this government believes that whether you are strong and healthy or sick, you must get the necessary attention that is needed. That is a part of prosperity. The Ministry of Health and Wellness and the government continues to remind persons that the COVID-19 pandemic is not over. Member from North Trelawney, North Clarendon, please remind your constituents that COVID still a keep. I was up in Kellits and very few persons had on masks. They had the mask in their pockets. And I want to ask every member and everybody who is hearing to remind each and every Jamaican that COVID still a keep. And we urge everybody to wear their masks, including the ministers. We urge the public to continue following the safety protocols, including wearing your mask, sanitization of hands, maintaining social distances, and staying at home and quarantine if you feel sick. The Ministry of Health and Wellness completed the construction of 4 high dependency units under the Program for the Reduction of Maternal and Child Mortality, PROMAC, at a cost of some $1.5 billion. PROMAC has provided Jamaica with 48 high dependency spaces, some 38 new high dependency beds, and 10 new isolation suites, specifically for pregnant women and their newborn. The procurement of 6 ambulances and the purchase of radiographic and ultrasound equipment and some 150 midwifery bags to enhance the quality of primary care and to improve the referral system were also made to the tune of $187 million. It was also said that some 230 doctors and nurses were trained in specialized programs, including obstetrics and gynecology, as well as intensive care. Furthermore, more than $3.5 billion was extended for the rehabilitation of the Cornwall Regional Hospital in St. James and the creation of new infrastructure to support the service provision for the citizens in the western part of the island. Mr. Speaker, I am sure the member from Central St. Mary would never forgive me if I did not mention that under the Ministry of Health and Wellness spending, they also completed the upgrade to the Portmore Hospital's operating theatre in his constituency. And on Thursday, the Honourable Minister will be the guest of the Member of Parliament as he breaks ground to build a new for a new standby generator, because they are about to starting operations in the operating theatre in Portmore after a long time. I am sure that as the Member of Parliament for Central St. Mary, you are proud. You might be the first patient, or you might be the first surgeon. No, that's what he said. No. It's not a new bill. It's not a new bill. I him say it first. Mr. Speaker, the member from Central St. Mary knows the history of that facility. And that is why every citizen of St. Mary is so happy, and we are so grateful to the Honourable Minister for spending the funds and paying the attention to our facility in that rural part of Jamaica. No, Central. Mr. Speaker, approximately 3,000 health workers have been trained under the Compassionate Care Program including clinical, technical, administrative, skilled and non-skilled staff. The program, which was implemented to improve customer service and patient interaction at public health facilities, will continue. And members here will attest that the service delivery at our health facilities have seen an improvement. The Adopt a Clinic initiative has garnered widespread support, with Jamaicans based locally and overseas committed some $82 million to the cause. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Health and Wellness was happy to announce that the dengue outbreak is now over. The measures by your government, Mr. Speaker, included the hiring of 1,000 vector workers to visit homes and to destroy breeding sites, as well as, you know, you should take back that from the universe. You didn't pay them. You didn't train them. Mr. Speaker, we visited houses in Kellits and we destroyed breeding sites. As well as public education, renewing the fleet of pickups and fogging machines to the tune of $250 million. We extended opening hours for the health centers and clinics, and we had more staff in the field in accident and emergency. All, Mr. Speaker, all have contributed to the taming of the spread of the dengue virus, and to that we say thanks to the healthcare workers for a job well done. Mr. Speaker, in August, Jamaica will open its first national shelter for victims of domestic abuse. Work has resumed on 2 of the 3 shelters which will be opened across the island. The first shelter will serve Mid-Island communities, while the other 2 will address the needs of those in the eastern and western regions. Anti-sexual harassment training of managers and other workers in the public and private sector will be implemented through a MOU with the University of the West Indies, Open Campus. It was also noted that research will be conducted on sexual harassment and workplace violence. Mr. Speaker, some $40 million has been approved by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service for a special support package for the creative and the athletic practitioners who have been adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And Mr. Speaker, I need to congratulate the Honourable Minister on this initiative. Many of our sports persons and creative persons have seen their income fallen to zero. And this initiative, spearheaded by the Honourable Minister Babsy Grange, is one that is well deserving. And we wish we could have given more funds to this industry, but it is what we can afford at this time. And they are conscious of the fact that this government cares. Mr. Speaker, the Entertainment Ministry hosted a fundraising initiative dubbed Telethon Jamaica, Together We Stand, towards providing additional resources to health services in the wake of the COVID-19. Over $60 million was raised, and all of it was handed over to buy personal protection equipment for our healthcare workers. On a similar note, Mr. Speaker, I know that every single member of this House would want to extend congratulations to Buju Banton on winning this year's edition of the Jamaica Festival Song Competition. And we want to thank him and commend him for handing over his winnings to a boys' home. That is most commendable, Mr. Speaker. And we urge other members, other Jamaicans, to do the same. Mr. Speaker, the local authorities and partner agencies received some 3,773 development applications valued at $148 billion in the last financial year. This turnout is commendable and underlines the government philosophy, program, and belief of prosperity. And this is amidst the pandemic, which affected construction activities. The local government ministers assured the Honourable House that as we work to recover from COVID-19, the expansion of the built environment will continue to move apace. Measures are being instituted aimed at further strengthening the accountability framework at municipal corporations. In an effort to incorporate the EU's input, the International Public Sector Accounting Standard is being facilitated through grant support assistance under the Organization and Technical Cooperation Facility. Mr. Speaker, we must mention the ruling of the court of the sentencing of some persons from the Manchester Municipal Corporation. And it underlines and underscores the Honourable Minister's initiative of rooting out corruption and insisting and ensuring that the municipal corporations do what they are there to do. Additionally, 20 new garbage trucks have been procured for local government. With more to come. With more to come. Some 30 new fire trucks are on their way. Some 500 young persons will be facilitated under this year's renewal of the National Youth Summer Employment Program. Work to build and renovate several markets island-wide at varying stages of completion. The long overdue renovation of the Stonehill Market in West Rural St. Andrews is slated to commence soon. Mr. Speaker, again the member from Central St. Mary can boast on his colleagues that the new market, the most modern market in the region, is completed in his constituency in Port Maria. And that market, and the only reason that market is not yet officially open, we're waiting on to set a date that is convenient to the member from Central St. Mary and the member from Western Kingston. Mr. Speaker, a total of 436 young persons benefited from education and employment opportunities during the last financial year under the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's Social Intervention Program. The initiative has been able to provide employment as well as entrepreneurial and education grants to beneficiaries who were enabled to complete their tertiary education, obtain capital for their businesses, and find long-term employment as a result of the program, a most commendable and far-reaching program to put poor Jamaicans on the road to prosperity. For the 2019-2020 financial year, the government spent $6.9 billion on cash grants for the program of advancement through health and education path. Against the background of COVID-19, the ministry reviewed and relaxed the compliance requirements ordinarily expected of children and pregnant or lactating women. This was to ensure, Mr. Speaker, that all path beneficiaries received early yet full benefits in April 2020, and in addition to that, special payments were made to path families in May 2020 to provide further support to our neediest citizens in the time of this economic fallout. A government that cares. Mr. Speaker, for the 2019-2020 financial year, the National Council for Senior Citizens and its partners trained some 4,945 seniors in culinary arts, jewelry making, barbistry, painting, farming and arts and craft. The Council also collaborated with the Ministry of Health and Wellness and other partners to provide health promotion services to more than 3,500 of the country's older citizens across the island. Additionally, 2 codes of practice for the protection of persons with disabilities have been completed. The development of the codes, under which employment, education and training is covered, is in keeping with a commitment made by the late Honourable Shahini Elizabeth Robbins. Mr. Speaker, in education, whether it is the vaccine for poverty, whether it is the ladder out of poverty, or whether it is the highway to prosperity, let us pause to thank our principals, teachers, and all staff members involved in education for the work that they have been doing over the years. Mr. Speaker, we heard great news that some 100 primary schools have been selected to get high-speed internet. And one of the first schools, Mr. Speaker, to benefit under this program was a primary school I used to attend, Donington Primary School in Western St. Mary. Mr. Speaker, for those who know St. Mary know that Donington is bush, unapologetic bush. And I am from St. Mary and I am a proud St. Mary man. Proud. And all of you who come to town come show off, everyone I want to come from country, except Mr. Samuda. But Mr. Speaker, when we took the team, Ready TV team, down to Donington, the community came out, and in less than 2 hours, they were able to access high-speed internet, bringing Donington on the super information highway. A proud moment. And it is something we can tick off, because the member from Southeast St. Anne, have a school that she don't deal with sometimes when they are in need, but when it's a prayer, she go to Newstead. and we're going to look at that one. Mr. Speaker, technology is integral to education. And we heard
Minister, you might not work in, Mr.
Not work. Turn on your mic. The language used, another message exchange. The language used by the member of Southeast St. Anne is totally unparliamentary. Don't tell me what you just said a while ago. Again, you come up with it. Riffraff is down there. But that member should know better than that. I expect, no, you're, I'm on my feet. No, I'm on my feet upon the border.
I really love the MP.
Take your seat on my feet. Speaker, I'm on my feet. I'm on my feet.
And if the minister,
I'm on my feet.
And what?
You did not ask me to yield.
Yield.
No, I shouldn't tell what to do. Take your seat. Take your seat.
Yield to a woman.
The member.
Yield to a woman.
I will, but I'm saying the language you use is non-parliamentary.
But
you know that.
Say it again.
You don't want me to say it.
Go on, man.
Stop it.
Do it, man.
You know better than that.
All right.
I expect that from you.
You say Riffraff Daddy? Riffraff Daddy, you saying that? Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
In the spirit of the Parliament, and because the gentleman, the Member of Parliament, is my good friend, if he feels that I may have been unparliamentary, I retract whatever statement he believes I had made. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, technology. Mr. Speaker, can I seek your protection, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, technology is integral to education.
Let us continue
and
with
we
the
have
business of the House
heard
members.
of the development of an app done by a Jamaican for Jamaicans. And it is the app, Mr. Speaker, we have been told is able to operate offline. That is a wonderful thing for children in rural Jamaica, or even in the inner city who don't have access to the internet. Mr. Speaker, some $2.8 billion will be forwarded to our schools for the new school year to help with their maintenance. In addition, funds have been allocated to schools to assist them to purchase personal protection equipment, to assist in buying temperature guns, masks, sanitizers at all levels of school, high school, primary, infant, and basic school. A government that cares for its citizens is making provision. Mr. Speaker, we are making education great again. Mr. Speaker, this debate has been very productive exercise. We have had the privilege of bringing into the public discourse a variety of new initiatives and provide updates on existing ones. We have heard from the opposition members, and they too have contributed, and we want to thank everybody who contributed. The members of the opposition, Mr. Speaker, We're overloaded with praise for the programs of this government. Some of them, Mr. Speaker, even put forward new ideas. And we commit to them that we will examine them. And where they are of merit, we will use them because all of Jamaica will benefit.
Order. Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of order. Please sit down.
I'm seated.
No, please sit properly. This is Parliament. Right. Mr. Speaker, the
Yes,
member has been called upon by his side because he opened the debate to close the debate. And I'm sure the member by now must realize that when you're closing the debate, you not only speak on behalf of one side. You don't just say what each minister presented. You must, it's your obligation
when he said
to summarize the debate and close the debate and indicate what all members who participated in the debate contributed to the debate.
Yes,
without being frivolous.
Yes, Mr.
Thank
Daly.
you very much.
Mr. Speaker,
remember, Mr. Daly,
Mr. Speaker, I understand the sentiments of the honourable member from Northern Geelong. I am now completing from the government. I am now moving to the opposition. But the gentleman in his anxiety and the good doctor from Northwest St. Anne is about to write you a prescription to take care of any early onset of anything. Any premature, see the doctor from Central St. Mary about it. So calm down, young man, calm down. So, Mr. Speaker, we had contributions from both sides of the House. And, Mr. Speaker, they criticized some program, as is their right, and they also placed on the table some excellent ideas that we give a commitment in this House that we will examine them carefully, and where we find merit, where you found merit, we will implement them, because this government knows, and the people of Jamaica knows, that this government, led by Andrew Holness, is about the development of Jamaica and bringing prosperity to everybody. Mr. Speaker, we are not too big to acknowledge that the opposition has given us an idea or two. Mr. Speaker, the different portfolios have had their own action plans, which are designed to lead this nation into a new day as we operate in a new normal and as we go onto the road to prosperity. We are not there yet, Mr. Speaker, but we are on the right path. Despite the challenges, we have given our people more access to water, more access to the internet, improved roads. We have given them more houses. We have even given members of parliament more allocation to help their communities. Mr. Speaker, I am glad that we are being led through this period by none other than our Prime Minister, the most Honourable Andrew Holness. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, when you go on the highways and the byways, when you climb the mountains and go in the valleys, when you go on the street corners, they call him the most honourable Brogard. And Mr. Speaker, I am confident that with continued effort and cooperation, we will be able to surmount the challenges and chart the course to Jamaica's prosperity. Mr. Speaker, it has been a pleasure. It has been historic, this debate. And Mr. Speaker, it gives me great pleasure to ask that the motion be approved at this time.